Hello and welcome. Today we're going to work with alerts. So we need an alert system on this to say if we try to sign up and the user already exists, it'd be nice to have an alert up here saying user already exists. Things like that so that we can alert the user of what type of errors we're having and how they might be able to handle those errors. So first I'm just going to go into my terminal, type yarn to get those folders populated, cd into my front end, type yarn again to get the folders populated inside of there. Remember, if you do not have a .env file, you do need to make one and hook up to your database as well as put a few different variables in there. So please pay attention to that as well. Now we will yarn run dev and make sure everything is working. We are up and running. That's great. I'm going to now move back to our code. Inside of components, we have a component to make. It's going to be in a folder called alert, and we will call the component alert.js. Now we'll just do our import of React from React. And we can make our const alert. That will be a fat arrow function like so, and we'll have a return in here. It'll be one div with a class name equal to alert. We could close it up inside here. We'll just write alert message, alerty message. Now let's just export this default alert. Now we're going to do our styling on this. So in the front end terminal that we have open here, the front end terminal, just write yarn run scss so we could do some styling. Now we'll go to our scss folder, which is right down here, and we will make a new file. It'll be called alert.scss. In there, let's import our variables. And the first thing will be .alert, and we'll just open that up, and our semicolon, and save. Cool. Now let's get this into our main.scss. So import, we'll / to that alert.scss. And as always, I like to go ahead and kill this and start it up again when I put something in the main. In alert, we'll do some styling. The first thing we'll do is a position, and we want that position to be fixed. This is going to stay on the same spot on the screen the entire time. The display will be flex, and the flex direction will be column, so we could have many alerts at the same time as well. Let's justify the content to the center of the screen, and let's align the items to the center of the container. Let's make a background color. I'm just going to use black, so color-black, and let's make a regular color. It'll be that color gray we've been using, so color-gray-light. The width should be the entire screen, so 100 viewport width. The min height, so this is going to be the minimum amount of height that we're going to give it, and that will be 2 rem. Now this can be bigger than 2 rem, but it's going to start out as always at least 2 rem. I'm also going to put a padding on the, let's do it like this. Padding top will be 1 rem, and padding bottom will be 1 rem. Now that's going to give us some sort of black on each side of the lettering. 1 rem on top and 1 rem on the bottom. Even if there's many alerts, we'll still have that 1 rem on both sides, which will look nice. Now the font size, we're going to make that 2 rem, so the entire size of the minimum height. We'll have the padding take care of the rest there. And the font weight will be 600, a little bit bold. Finally, make a very high Z index. I'm going to do 10,000. Now let's put this alert into our app so we could kind of see what's going on here. I know this was a lot, but we've went over all of these things, so I think you probably have a good grasp on what we just did. Go to app.js, and we need to bring this in. Just right up here, we'll import it. We'll import alert from, and then we just need to find it. So it'll be in components, in alert, and alert. So right after the header, I'm going to put the alert in. So header, we have this div. Let's do it here with alert. And it self-closes. We should be able to see it on the page now. Here we are with our alert message. This is great. So that'll pop up on the screen, and it follows you anywhere on the screen. In case we're down on a screen and the alert message is all the way on the top where it can't be seen, this will follow you because of that fixed that we did, the display of fixed. The position of fixed, rather. The display is flex, but the position of fixed is allowing it to follow you around on the screen. I think this looks just fine here, but we need to get it off the screen. We don't want alerts to stay forever, so let's start working on the alert functionality. So we'll head up to Redux, and inside of Redux, inside of actions, let's have alert actions.js. Now here we're going to import a few different types. It's going to be called set alert. Make sure it's all capital. Set underscore alert, and we'll comma to remove underscore alert. And that is coming from // types. Okay, so let's just grab both of those and make some types for them. So down to types. So we have two more exports to do, the set alert and the remove alert. Great, now we're exporting all the types that we need. And back to alert actions. Now these alerts are going to look like this. So an alert will be an object, it'll have an ID, and then whatever number's in there, and then it will have a MSG for message, and then password is incorrect. So this is kind of what we're looking at. We're going to have an object with an ID and a message. So I want to randomly generate IDs. I'm going to go down to my terminal, the front end terminal, and just kill that for now. Yarn add UUID. And let's get UUID into our component here. So import UUID into our alert actions from, and then we're going to get UUID, but we're going to slash to v4. So we're just going to bring in the version 4 there of the UUID, export const set alert. And it will have a string, so that'll be the message. It'll have a timeout, and you'll see what this is going to do. We set it equal to 7,000 milliseconds to start off with, and the idea of this timeout is right now an alert stays on our screen forever, so we could have it stay on the screen for a set amount of time and then just disappear. So that's the idea behind passing a timeout in. And now we're going to point this to our dispatch, and then finally into our function. It'll have a const called new ID, those both capital, and then UUID as a function. So that will give us an ID from UUID, a random one randomly generated. And we will dispatch, and now we can have a type, and that type will be set alert, and we can have a payload, just like we did last time. This one will be an object this time. An ID, that is new ID, and a MSG, a message, that is the str, the string that was passed in. Now after that, we're going to get rid of the alert with a set timeout. Set timeout will start with an anonymous function like so. It will point to our dispatch, and we will dispatch a type, remove alert, and a payload of the alert's ID, so new ID. Then after this, just comma to the timeout, which starts at 7 seconds, but could be made longer if it was passed into the set alert, would say 8,000 or 9,000. That would be 8 seconds or 9 seconds. but alert actions are useless without a alert reducer. So inside of reducers, let's make one. Alert reducer dot JS. And now let's import our type. So let's import, and that'll be from up1 types. And what we need is the two we used there. That was set alert and remove alert. Let's make a const initial state. And this will be the same as last time. We'll just have alert. And in there, it'll be an array where we could put alerts. Const alert reducer. Its state is the initial state, and then it gets in action. And in the body, let's do the same thing. We'll just destructure the type and the payload, and that will be from the action. Now we can switch over the type, and we'll have our cases. Our first case will be set alert, and set alert, oh, I put the colon in the wrong place. That should be right here. Set alert will have a return, and inside the return, state, so spread the state object, and alert will be an array with state.alert, and then comma to payload. So what we're saying is whatever's in state.alert stays there, and then we also put in the payload here. Now what happens when we remove the alert? Let me go ahead and end this one. It'll be another case. So case remove alert, that will return. And it starts the same. So state, we still spread the state across it. And now we're just going to define what's inside of alert. So inside of alert will be state.alert.filter. We're using the filter function. Element, EL, and I'm going to point that to el.id not equal to the payload, because what we're getting is just the ID from alert actions. We're getting a payload of the new ID, and in the reducer, we want to remove the ID that's equal to the payload. So we'll return everything that's not equal to that payload. So that's our remove alert. And then finally, we need a default case. So after this, we will default and then just return state. Let's export this and get it into our combined reducer. So export default alert reducer and bring it into our root reducer, into our combined reducers call by importing it here. Import alert reducer from /reducers alert reducer and alert reducer, and now we're combining both of those reducers, and we should have both of them, we should have access to both of them right up here. Let's make sure. We have state, and here's our user reducer, here's our alert reducer. One being the object, one being the array. This is working great so far. Now let's model that data so we don't just have this alert message coming out right here. I want it coming from Redux so we could start working with it in a real way. So we'll go back to alert. Where are you? There you are. And we're going to import use selector. And that comes right from react-redux. Now, right under alert, make a const. We're going to pull out alert. We're destructuring alert from useSelector. And here's how you do the useSelector. First, you pick state, and then you point it to the state you want. State.alert reducer. And now we're pulling alert out of the alert reducer. We know our alert is going to be an array. So we'll have here alert at 0, and we're going to need the .msg for message. So that's what we're going to display right here. Right now there should just be nothing. Well, actually not even nothing. This should be less than nothing because message is undefined here. There's nothing at 0, so there can be no message. So let me just type 1 in so we can work with it. Here's our alert reducer. Here it is at 0. We're going to have a MSG, that's our message. We'll write from alert reducer. And we're also going to need something else in here. It is the ID we called it. I think we just called it ID like that, and I'll just put a random ID in for now. Cool, now we have our from alert reducer. So we are getting it out of Redux in our alert now. We used our use selector to select that piece of state, and we took the first piece of the array and we got the message. That's why we can see from our alert reducer this message, and it is message at 0 because it's the first object within the array. Now, what if we have more than one message? We want them to be able to be displayed one after each other. So let's comma to another one. We'll call it second message. I'll change a number or 2 here. And let's get them both displayed now. So underneath the alert, I'm going to have a const called alert message. So alert MSG, and that will come from alert.map. So we're making a new array from alert. We'll have an element of the array, and we'll point that to we'll open up some parentheses. We'll do a span inside of here and have a key. We always need a key when we're making a list. So we'll have a key value. It will be the element.id, and then we'll have, after that, inside the span, the el.msg, element.message. So now we're going through each element of the alert array here. We're mapping through it and returning the element.message, one after another and under each other, since we're in flex and we chose a flex direction of column. Let's see what that looks like. We'll just have to take this alert out. We'll say alert MSG. See what we got. Now we have both alerts. So from alert reducer, and there's your second message. So if we have several alerts that pop up, they could pop up under each other. Now we do have to worry about these coming off at some point. Right now they're hard-coded in, and we don't want this bar here forever. So we can work on that pretty simply. I'm going to make it so that we can click on these and we'll get alerts through our actual alert actions, so that we could see them disappear if our code is written properly. So let's go to the course slider, go into course slider right here. We'll import 2 things. So let's import use dispatch from react-redux, and let's also import set alert from, and that's up 2 inside of Redux, and then we have actions up 1 and alert actions. Perfect. It's giving us a module not found there. All right, I just took a look at their documentation, and there's a new way to import from UUID, a breaking change. So this is how we now import UUID, our random ID generator. So now we import v4 as UUID from UUID. Just a new way of doing it, and it works just fine. Back to our course slider. In our course slider, we have our use dispatch and our set alert. Let's define dispatch quickly. So we'll have a const called dispatch, and that equals use dispatch, the function. Now we'll make the actual function we'll use. It'll be called make alert, and it'll take in the element that we pass to it, and dispatch. Inside of dispatch, we pass set alert, and inside of set alert, el.title. That'll be the string that we pass to set alert, and it should last 7 seconds because we did not identify anything else. So let's now use make alert in our return. So in our return, actually not our return in this course list. We'll head down to the input to the button down here, and add an on click. And on click, here's what we'll do. We will point to make alert, and we will pass it the element. Let's see if this is working for us now. I'm just going to go back into alert reducer and get rid of everything inside of it. So we could start from scratch and see if our alert reducer works. So now we could press add to cart, and that gets in, and that gets in, and that gets in. Okay, great. Now these should also go away after 7 seconds. 2, 3, and the fourth one. Okay, great. It's working perfectly. We don't want this bar on the screen when there are no alerts, so let's work on that real quick. So head over to alert.js right over here. Now our return, we're going to do that a little bit differently so that we don't always return this class. We don't always want to return this class name. Sometimes we want to return just nothing. So if alert msg.length is greater than 0. So if there's something in the alert array, then we want to return what's already here. Now we can have our else statement under it. Else, we will return null. And now nothing is on the screen at all. And now things are on the screen. And now when they go away, this entire bar should leave the screen as well. And it does. So we have our alert system set up, and now we just need to hook it up to error handlers and things like that, things that we want to alert the user when something happens, maybe added to cart or something like that. It's all set up and ready for us to start working on. So follow me to the next video where we set up some errors and trigger our new alert handler. Great job on this one, and keep coding.